Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning. Please introduce yourselves at the chat box. Tell us where you come from. Thank you. Maybe we give 3 more minutes and then we start. So there are 43 participants now. Good afternoon, good morning. We start when we get to 50 perhaps. 50 is a good number. Waiting for just one person to join us. All right. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our next webinar on diverse entry points for playful parenting programs in the region, learning from the good practices of Plan Australia, Plan Myanmar, Save the Children Bhutan, and Mobile Creches India. In 2021, ARNET did a learning forum on play and the role of play in the developmental influence among young children, depending on age and depending on stage. But a lot of response we got from the ECD community then was also about play being a cultural construct. That play has different meanings depending on where we come from in the region. And that is what we try to understand or locate in early childhood development programs. What is the role of play in early childhood development programs, and what is the developmental and cultural construct that is associated with it? This afternoon, we will look into that, particularly the entry points for playful parenting in 3 countries in the region. And we are very pleased to have with us the cases that will be presented by Plan International, Save the Children in Bhutan, and Mobile Creches in India. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. And for Plan, we will be listening to Parenting Under Pressure in Myanmar, and the presentation will be done by Shifa Andina, Program Manager, ECCD and Education from Plan Australia, she will be assisted by Yao Sao, Education Advisor from Plan Myanmar. Following the presentation of Plan International, we will listen to the presentation of Save the Children in Bhutan, Prescription to Play, looking at the role of play and integrating it in the health sector in Bhutan. So it's a different entry point for Bhutan, and this is a joint partnership arrangement with the Ministry of Health. So we will listen to Kinley, who will do the presentation on behalf of Save the Children Bhutan. Following the presentation of Save the Children, we are pleased to have with us Chavi Bora, integrator for child care service and capacity building for Mobile Creches India. Chavi will walk us through the good practices of mobile creches in parenting, particularly its Dular program in India. So how does the webinar look like this afternoon? We will have case presentations about 12 to 15 minutes each. And the presentations will respond to some learning questions, particularly the importance of having baseline conditions. What is it that the ECT programs respond to? What is it that they wish to change? And how does the baseline conditions influence program design and delivery? What is the role of evidence? And how does evidence, for example, influence adjustments in implementing the program, including scale and rollout strategies and the elements of sustainability to make sure that the ECT programs and play-based programs continue over time. After the presentations, we will listen to some responses, and that will come from Beyla Hamil. Beyla is the Executive Director of ITA Center of Education and Consciousness in Pakistan. And then after Beyla, we will have a learning session, and that will be facilitated by Professor Mark de Rosnay and Natalie Day of the University of Wollongong in Australia. So that's how we will try to pack 1.5 hours of this learning session with our case presenters and with our learning facilitators this afternoon. So without further ado, I now turn over the floor to Plan International for its presentation on parenting under pressure. So over to you, Dina.
Thank you, Joel. Good afternoon, colleagues across the regions. I will be sharing these presentations together with my colleagues Chao Zhao from Plan Myanmar. And we will be dividing the presentations among us, where Chao Zhao will give you a brief on the baseline conditions, what triggered us, Plan Australia and Myanmar to start these programs, Parenting Under Pressure, and the design and delivery of the programs. And I will be sharing the evidence and evaluation result of these programs. So yeah, I hand it over to you, Chao Zhao.
Hi, hello everyone. I am Jozo, Education Advisor from Plan International Myanmar. And today I will be presenting the Parenting Under Pressure implementation in Myanmar. Plan Myanmar has been implementing ECD initiative as a thought leader since 2012. We have piloted Parenting Under Pressure program in 8 villages from Rakhine State since 2018. PUP is one of the flagship programs for Plan International Myanmar. Children in our country are experiencing an unprecedented human crisis, multiple challenges, including escalating conflict and violence, unstable political situation in the country, the COVID-19 pandemic, climate-related disasters, rising poverty, and a collapse in public services have led Myanmar people, including children, in need of humanitarian assistance. Conflict and crisis make the big impact on children and their family. So the prolonged conflict create stress in the family, and children could not access early childhood education, and there is lack of positive parenting practices. These all are the impact of conflict and crisis. So PUP program is mainly for parents and caregivers of children aged 0 to 8 in humanitarian crisis situation. This is a program which is a peer-to-peer parenting and to empower parents and caregivers to provide nurturing care that supports their children's healthy development and well-being. And it has a strong focus on parental well-being, promoting co-parenting and men engagement, and strengthening support and solidarity networks between crisis-affected parents. The PUP curriculum sections are based on discussion, activity-based, and aim to engage participants in creative ways to learn, share, and practice positive parenting practices, as well as develop support networks. There are 17 sections which are comprises the area of gender-sensitive nurturing care, including responsive caregiving, protection, and opportunity for play and learning, psychosocial well-being of the parents and caregiver, and male and female to share decision-making, care work, and child caring responsibilities within the household. We are also introducing the simple and easy play techniques to the parents and caregiver during the parenting sections. So this promotes the learning through play awareness to the parents and caregivers. During COVID-19, it is difficult to organize the group section discussion, so we have adapted the existing PUP program into a hybrid version that can be delivered with minimal human interaction during lockdowns or in area with heavy access constraints. This version is mainly using the audio modality and face-to-face modality. So there are 15 audio lessons and 5 times face-to-face sections. Audio lessons are the self-learning at home, and face-to-face sections are for checking and reflecting upon the audio lessons. So there is, we also conducted home visit to support the parents and caregiver, which they are not unclear on the audio lessons. So we support them during home visit. So we distribute the speakers and memory sticks with audio lessons, so the parents and caregiver can listen to the audio lessons during their free and convenient time. So in the audio lessons, there is a section we introduce the simple play techniques to the parents and caregiver. So to date, Plan International Myanmar has been trained 107 PUP facilitator and provided PUP sections to 82 parenting groups formed with 1,919 parents in Myanmar. So thank you all, and let me over to Dina.
Thank you, Chao Zhao. So yeah, we started these programs based on our long-term assisted to Plan Myanmar on ECD programming. Back in 2018, we realized that we need to do something to support parents who lives under, humanitarian crisis in Myanmar. That is when we established this Parenting Under Pressure program with Plan Myanmar. And then over the past years, we have been supported by other Plan colleagues like Plan Denmark and Plan Belgium to implement this program in other countries, in Burkina Faso, in Uganda, Mali, and Rwanda. So now we have more than 5,000 parents participating in our Parenting Under Pressure program. And yeah, this is some of the results that we've gathered on our programs when we first established in Myanmar. And then in Burkina Faso, we've learned that this program have helped parents who live under the crisis, increase their activities, learning stimulations activities at the either at the refugee camps or at home with their children. And also in Myanmar, we've learned that this program has also, helped parents in managing their stress so that they can be more playful with their children at home. And then with the support of Lego Foundations, the project that we've established with Plan Denmark, Plan Australia, Plan Myanmar, and Plan Rwanda, where we developed the hybrid versions of this parenting under pressure programming, we've learned that in the second times of the end-line study, so we did a baseline and then the first end-line right after the project ended a few months ago. And then the second end-line, we did it 4 months after the project ended. We found that parents still use the informations that we distributed through the audio messages that Zhao Zhao have shared with you earlier. And that we've learned that it's easier for the community in Rakhine to use a memory stick with a speaker instead of using, distributing it through cell phones. And from that study, we've also learned that parents' attitudes toward positive parenting have improved. Like, for example, in the baseline, there was like 30% of the parents either using in the traditional face-to-face parenting or hybrid model of the programs. They will believe that play is just for fun. It's not important for children's development. But after they participated in the programs, the percentage of parents who believe that play is not just for fun and it is useful for development of the children have increased. And also at the outcomes level, again, the results indicate that more and more parents, allocated times to play with their children in the past few days after they participate in the programs, but also after a few months they participated in the program. So we found a good result, and also this is something we think that can be scaled up in other humanitarian and crisis contexts, because we've been doing this in many other countries and many different crises so far. So we do hope what we shared today, bring the lights for you, that there's something that we can do to support parents, have a playful parenting even during crisis. I hand it over to you, Joel. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dina and Giao Zhao, for the presentation. May we now call on Kinley for the presentation of P2P prescription to play in Bhutan, this time in the health sector. So over to you, Kinley.
Joel, can you give us a few minutes? There's slight internet disruption here, so she's trying to connect back.
Perhaps we start with mobile creches while we address the technical issues in Bhutan. So, is that okay, Satlin?
We are fine. We can start off.
All right. Okay. So may we now call on Chavi Vora to give the presentation on Dular parenting program by Mobile Creches. Over to you, Chavi.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Chavi Vora, and I'm speaking from New Delhi right now. I am accompanied with my colleague, Isha. Isha is completely hands down on parenting because she was the one who was seeing in the ground how the program was emerging to be. This is quickly about the organization. Our vision is that on the top of the roof, it is to have a just and a caring world for every young child. And if you see these great pillars, there are three main goals. To start with, we run childcare services across 14 states. We have run across 19 states in past in totality. And our pathways is through various NGO partners, through government, state, in different state, and also through directly ourselves. And if you see, the 1.2 is all about parenting. Parenting is not a new concept for anyone working on early childhood development. So we already have an inbuilt parenting program in our childcare services. And however, the large parenting program, which I just come to, is a more of a pilot program which started last year, end of last year. And not last, not the least, we have an outreach program with community where we link them to the government provisions and schemes which is already there. That's all about our childcare services. Then the middle one is our capacity building pillar. To run program like that, you need to technically build people to run it and organization to know what it is to run provisions like that. So we train frontline workers, we train middle-level functionaries. We also onboard the whole organization like NGOs to start off running such services. Currently, we are in partnership with 3 state government, where through them they are running the creches, and we're technically providing support to them. And with that, I want to share that one of the very big states in India, Haryana, has last week only adopted childcare policy for universalization of creches for each and every child there. So that is a very big thing that happened. So the third pillar is all about advising government policy, child-centric policies, networking, like we are in ARNIC right now. So networking with the other INGOs and NGOs to elevate the whole childcare advocacy. Parenting, coming to parenting. So like I said, we already had a parenting development program for our children who come to our creches. Those are normally set of 9 sessions we have with parents. During COVID, what happened, during COVID, we could not reach them, and there were no frontline workers, but however, parents were there. So what we devised was a furthering parenting program where 3 times in a week, we would call the parents, help them psychologically, support them, counsel them. We were providing nutrition to them, and we would also give them activities based on all 3 domains. So it was very structured activities, and we ran for 12 months that program. That was a huge success. And that led to actually thinking that we need to develop parents to actually have better parenting skill and more deeper. Though our earlier program did work on the parenting skill, but however, a deeper one which we ran, furthering parenting, had a very good result. So that's how the Tular parenting program was devised. And we have piloted in Delhi, northeast of Delhi. If you know about Delhi, Delhi has around 750 slums. Around 52% of Delhi population actually lives in slums. And I'm talking about families living in a house which is of 10 feet to 10 by 10 feet, very small houses. They don't hardly have bathrooms in it. They have all common bathrooms outside. These are the children who come from, the families come from villages looking for work. So the basic amenities are very broken. So we're looking at very low level of security there, basic amenities, water, provision, everything is very low. However, they have everyone aspires for their children to have a better life, and we could see that there was an appetite for it when we did our baseline. So this program, program is aimed to improve the nutrition, health, hygiene, safety, protection, like any parenting program. Very importantly, responsive care, love. So for us, whole violence against children, because we slums in India, we see a lot of violence against children. So that was a very important aspect which we wanted to cover. So social emotional learning is a big thing that we wanted to touch upon here. And the program is designed for under 3s in this marginalized community. And so for that, how do we do that? We targeted a group from pregnant women to age 3, and we divided into 4 slots. Isha will talk about more into detail. And another important thing was, which also came from our existing program, was linking them to the government provisions, because that's how we realize you have a buy-in of the community. If you link them to any public health services, or like immunization, things like that, so they come and they understand that we are there to help them. So broadly about this, and I will just ask Isha to take you through the entire design of the program.
Hi everybody, my name is Isha. I'm presently managing Dular Parenting Program in Mobile Creches. So as Shavi has mentioned, that the age group for this intervention is divided into 4 categories. Group 1 is prenatal stage, where we cater pregnant women specifically because they have certain different needs. Then the rest of the groups are based on the age of children. The second age group is birth to 6 months. So we cater to the families who have children from this particular age group. Group 3 is for families which have children aged 6 to 18 months and so on. So 18 to 36 months is the cutoff line for this particular pilot phase of the Dular Parenting Program. So the key focus areas of this program are, as we have mentioned in the objectives, they are currently derived from the objectives only. So we have designed our modules and the program in such manner that the frontline workers aware the parents about the safety and protection of the child, the whole concept of nutritional practices in the community, health and hygiene of the child. So the thing is that parents know about the importance of nutrition for the child, the health of the child, but the difference comes when they practice these things. So the practice form, the practices which they follow are compromised for the child, and we are presently doing for that. So the design and the structure of the program is aligned in this slide. So in the very first phase of the program structure, we made a team. So the team formation was done. So we are presently catering to 450 families in this particular community, and we have 4 community volunteers. So one community volunteer caters to 100 plus families, approximately 100 and 115 families. So for the particular team which we have put in the community, we do capacity building. We train them on the knowledge, skill and attitude of the modules we have designed. So once they are trained, they conduct the assessment tools such as baselines. So we design the tools and then the conduction of tool is done. So we have completed our baseline in the month of December. And for the pregnancy group, we have also completed the end line. But for the rest of the groups, because they are 1 year long groups, the end lines will complete in the month of December. So from December to December, the pilot phase will be completed. Post that, we have designed the content. In-house designing the content has been done, where we have designed the lesson plans for the meetings, for the respective meetings. So the structure of the program is that we meet the parents in group, in particular cohorts once in a quarter, and the face-to-face meetings where our community volunteer visits the house of the particular family is done once in a month. During those meetings, our team provides supportive supervision to them so that the structure goes well. And the whole structure of the program is running through a PWA app. So we have a Dular Parenting app. All the modules, all the baselines, end lines and everything, all the content, audio, video content, posters, everything is there on the app. Every family is registered on the app, and we can monitor and track the progress of individual family through this app. So let's move on to the next section, which says the delivery of the program. So how the app works, our community volunteer first creates the ID of the family. So there is a unique ID in which all the updates will be filled. The baseline data is there, the responses from the meetings are there. Once the ID is created, community volunteer fills a baseline form to understand the present situation and knowledge of the family, so that we can incorporate the needful for the particular family, so that we can modify our lesson plan as per the family needs. Suppose a family is lacking with the knowledge of nutrition and hygiene. Hygiene is a huge problem in these Delhi slums, particularly in the monsoon season. So if a family is not taking care about the hygiene, the lesson plan will be revised and modified as per the need. Then, as I've mentioned, group meetings are done in every quarter. Home visits are done once in a month. And throughout this session, once the family moves to another group, for example, if we have a pregnant lady and once she delivers the baby, she will be gone to the next group and her end line will be conducted. Same as if a child is of 17 months, so next month the child will be turned 18 months. So the family will move to the last group of the family, of the structure. So as I've shared that we have conducted the baseline in the month of December. So following are the data, some of the critical data which we could gather from the baseline forms, and these data is derived from the app itself. So we have not derived anything. The app has shared that this is the situation in your community with where you're working. So as you can see, only 60% of families are linked with public health services, which are most of them are maternal health benefits and the child benefits. 61% of families are only 61% of families have child who have their birth certificates. So birth certificates are very important for school admissions, for to acclaim other public services and health services as well. So this is an important segment, and we could see that 39% of family lack to have the certificates. Only 59% of women are getting the right amount of nutrition in the phase of pregnancy and post delivery, which is a very critical time for a lady who has just delivered the baby. 47% of women are supported through their via families. So the psychosocial support of women is also important for the health of the newborn, for the baby inside the womb. So only 47% of family were getting the support when we conducted the baseline, and 50% of families are using plastic bottles to feed the baby, which impact the health and the safety of the child. The earlier data was some of around borderline data, 50%, 60%, but these are the data and the some of the indicators which showed that the situation is getting worsened. So 17.95% of the family are getting monetary schemes. So in India, we have certain schemes which help the women financially when she delivers the baby, but most of the women are not linked to the scheme due to certain reasons and aspects. 41% of the women are not getting right nutrition. 26% of the families are not, only 26% families maintain hygiene. So the situation is worse. There are rats inside the house because women are occupied with their household chores. They are not able to maintain the hygiene of the house. So only 41% of children are getting potable drinking water, which is against a critical scenario for the protection aspect. And only 22% of families are spending their time with children. So when the last indicator that only 22% of children's parents spend time with their children means that they are not playing with the child. They're not talking to the child. They don't consider that the young babies should be played. They only feel that their need is feeding and cleaning and bathing, but not play. So to incorporate that, we have introduced play-based parenting in this program. We have a certain in every module, we give them certain activities. So why play? Why do we want to incorporate play as an important aspect of this program? Is because we feel, and we would all agree that play enables the child to explore their world. So mind that all these children are living in very congested areas. So for them, play is important, or they will not be able to explore their world because they're not going out. They're not in schools most of the times. So it will help them to develop the social and cultural understanding of their world and to express their feelings and thoughts as well. So play is very important for physical development as I move forward. So we understand that play will help the holistic development of the child. So we give them, to the parents, we are providing activities and we are demonstrating the activities which will help the child to develop the physical domains such as fine motor skills and gross motor skills. We are giving them solutions which are coming from their immediate environment. So for example, if there are threads and beads in the house, then the child can bead the thread the beads in the particular thing. Then for the cognitive development, we conduct experiments, we give them some solutions and some methods through which the child can do problem solving skills. For example, there is a puzzle in the house, or we have made the puzzle on the ground. For example, we have mixed the vegetables and asked them to, so for example, we have mixed all the things and asked them to segregate the onions and the potatoes from the basket. Segregate the vegetables by their colors. So that is the whole cognitive domain which is catering and which is developing through these home-based activities. For language and literacy development, we have developed the storybooks with the parents. We have created our own stories and we have developed the storybooks, for example, making the stories with the child, and then narrating the stories in the community. So socio-emotional development is also a very significant part where we are focusing that if the mother is very busy, if the father is not there in the house, then also take out the time to talk to the child, narrate the story whenever you are feeding the child, recite the poems, narrate the poems, and then give the opportunity to child to express and share how he or she is feeling.
So this is a landing page of when you open the app, this is what it comes out to be. We are across the time, but we'd love to tell you more about it whenever you ask us questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mobile Creches, for the presentation. There are questions on the Q&A box. Please do respond, but we will have a plenary discussion later on facilitated by the University of Wollongong. I think the connectivity is back in Bhutan, so I'm now pleased to call on Kinley Wangmo, who will do the presentation on prescription to play in the health sector. Over to you, Kinley.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly fine. Please proceed, Kinley.
Very
Thank
sorry,
you.
we got lost in between. Our connectivity was not there, so we had to get hotspot. So now finally we are back. So sorry for the time loss, and we couldn't present in as planned. Anyways, this is the project, the prescription to play, a framework to integrate, scale up, and sustain playful parenting in health system. This is the project for 4 years, and we have been we started implementing this since 2019. And our partners are Ministry of Health and Kisargelpo University of Medical Sciences, particularly with the Faculty of Nursing and Public Health Department. And for today's presentation, the structure of presentation is I'll be touching you on the baseline fact sheet 2020, because we did this in 2020, program design and delivery and conceptualization of play, scale and sustainability strategy, collecting evidence and conducting evaluation. So like in 2020, we conducted a baseline study, and these are some of the findings from the baseline. And particularly, I'm not going to read all, but you know, in order to, I'll give you some examples. So one of the, if you look at the first one of the 3 caregivers believes that the parent just needs to feed, clean, and clothe the baby for it to turn out fine. So basically from this finding, we have come to understand that there is not much of play materials at home, and in terms of play, parents do not have the idea on the importance of play. So therefore our project, the P2P. So the project, for your information, we have conducted a pilot study. So this P2P plus program has been designed to build up the strengths of the pilot and ensure that every child in Bhutan has access to the right elements to ensure a happy, healthy, and bright start to life. This is reflected in the program goal that every child aged 0 to 3 will reach to their full potential through an evidence-based playful parenting intervention. And the 3 outcomes that reflect that goal at different levels. Outcome 1, it focuses on caregivers and increasing playful interaction at home. And outcome 2 focuses on having a skilled workforce. And here we are talking about the health assistants and the district health officers and everyone who is responsible for rolling out this program and who can support caregivers to have playful interaction at home. And outcome 3 is about ensuring that this investment is in playful parenting continues in the future through continued policy and implementation by the government stakeholders. And this is the capacity program design and delivery. We have had a master trainers who are from the Ministry of Health, our focal partners. And we have Kisargelpo University of Medical Sciences and Save the Children Bhutan. And this team has trained co-trainers who consisted of district health officers and health assistants, and then these co-trainers did the roll down training for the HAs, and that is for both in-service and pre-service. And here, if you look at this diagram, we have two main roles the HAs play. And basically, this is conducting group sessions and then individual sessions. And this is done in the primary health centers and outreach clinics. And it is done in the monthly, during the monthly clinic time. So we have the group session, 12 group sessions, which are around, early stimulation, responsive care, health and nutrition topics, and caregivers' well-being, as well as fathers' engagement. So totaling up to 12 group sessions. So every month they conduct one group sessions. And if you look at the picture, you can see the HA conducting the group sessions in one of the health sites. And in the second picture, you will see HA conducting child development screening and prescription and individualized play plan for the child and caregivers. HAs refer child for specialized services if needed. So they check the developmental milestones according to the age level, and then if found any delays, they refer, or if it is red flag, again, they refer, or whether they need monitoring. This is how they conduct. And as I said, one of our partners is Faculty of Nursing Public Health in the Kesergap University. Here we have integrated the P2P component in two modules, that is 304 for 10 hours, and 1 hour is equivalent to 1 lecture. So they have 10 lecture hours of 1 hour. And then also, and both are for both group sessions as well as for the individual sessions. And for CDC 301, they have 15 hours, again, 15 lecture hours focusing on playful parenting group sessions for caregivers. And every year now from hands-on, we will be, 25 to 30 students will be graduating who will be capacitated in the P2P component. So if you look at this, how we have conceptualization, our conceptualization of play, as I said, we have 12 group sessions, out of which 9 are on early stimulation, responsive caregiving, and positive parenting. And here, HAs have, they have to, when they conduct the group sessions, they have to follow 7 steps. And in the 4th step, we have designed from, basically this is for 0 to 3 years. So we have grouped 4 age bands. So in each age band, they have 4 games. So HAs, when they, when the caregivers come to attend the sessions, according to the age, they demonstrate the age-wise, appropriate games to the caregivers, and this is how the caregivers learn. And then at the group sessions also, they are asked to, right in front of the HAs, they are asked to, replay what they have learned, and then they are also provided with caregivers, play cards so that they are reminded at home. So this is how it is conceptualized. And to the right, you will see the Bhutan Child Development Screening Tool. And here also we have, this is, if you look at the first column, it is developmental domains. And in this case, you can see the physical domain, then we have the milestones, and then C4CD plus intervention. In other words, it is P2P or play plan. So as the HAs, conduct this or deliver this service, what they do is if according to the findings, they will advise the parents, or they give some play ideas for the parents to practice at home. And for our project, we have planned it in 3 phases, but now, however, we are doing it in 2 phases. So in the first phase, basically, we had to, our focus is to make key improvements and adaptations and modifications so that we can, in order to, fine tune the design before we move to the next phases. And some of the key activities in these are the, first of all, partnership and stakeholder engagement. We also fine tune the design, and then establish effective supply and demand, and then initiate integration of playful parenting in the medical college, as I have already mentioned. And in this second, now we can say second phase, because we have clocked these two, considering the time limit. So now this is the scale up in the rest of the remaining districts. And then basically we are focusing on regional advocacy to transition playful parenting to the region through ARNIC, as well as at the national level. And we have collected evidences from our baseline and endline, and this is completed, and we have used CREDI tool and as well as caregivers observation home inventory. So whereby in this CREDI, it is basically caregivers reported, whereas in the home, and we have the observers observe the interaction between the child and the caregiver. And qualitative data is also collected, observation of HS conducting. This is where the HS go to monitor the, the monitors go to conduct supervision supportive to the HS while they conduct the group sessions. And we have integrated the indicators in the P2P indicators in the HMI system in the ministry, and formative evaluation on improving quality of two key services, that is basically the group session and screening. This will be conducted so that we have, we will generate the evidences. And we are also doing a cost-effective analysis and district level and national level advocacy for sustainability. Thank you. I think we have come to the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kinley. You pulled through the presentation despite the technical problems you have faced. Now we go to the second half of the webinar. We now listen to the insights of Beyla Hamil of ITA Pakistan, and then we will open the floor to the Q&A portion facilitated by the University of Wollongong. Over to you, Beyla, for your insights.
Thank you very much. This has been absolutely fascinating to see here the 3 country case studies on playful parenting, and especially when you look at the uniqueness of each one: prescription to play in Bhutan, Dular in India, and parenting under pressure, each one with their unique names. Just to remind the audience quickly that we were looking at baseline conditions, program design and delivery, conceptualization of play and its linkage to the program objectives, scale and sustainability, collecting evidence and conducting evaluations. Each one of those presentations was very rich in how it was responding to these particular dimensions. What is important is to see how each one had conceptualized the challenge and come up with a solution, but also looked at the entire capacity building measure, as well as the links to advocacy and scale up. I was particularly interested also in one aspect, which I thought one should just put it out straight away, is the use of technology, not just in the way the solution was being packaged and use technology, and that includes the hybrid methodologies, but also the use of technology, for example, in the case of Dular, where they have built-in technology for baseline and endline. And I think it is very important to see what are the challenges of that, and to what extent is technology being used well. For example, we saw that in Dular, and that's a question that I think we need to ask, is that, for example, in Dular, we saw that the app that has been developed, to what extent is the app being used by the parents, or is it being used by the facilitators, those facilitators which are 1 for each 100 households? And to what extent is the take-up by parents? For example, similarly, we saw in one of the presentations where, in fact, while they had the memory stick, which was well used in the case of Myanmar, but when it came to whether they had saved those messages inside in their mobile phones, they were not to be found. And I think it's important to raise that. Recently, the GEM report has been launched, and this is the challenge that comes out. To what extent is really technology being imbibed, especially when you're looking at groups at the bottom of the pyramid? And we need to be able to be sensitive to that. The second piece is on the capacity building piece. I think it was very telling and interesting to see that in the case of the Save the Children program in Bhutan, how the capacity building from day one was linked. In that case, the way the solution is designed, how in the prescription to play in Bhutan, it is all linked to the field level teams in health and so on, who are part of the capacity building measure, as well as the university, which is looking at workforce development. I think this element of workforce development is a very strong one that we saw in all three. However, in the case of Bhutan, in the case of Myanmar, one is not very clear as to those 107 facilitators. Where are they coming from? And that solution in Myanmar, particularly for the most fragile communities in conflict, with multiple kind of emergencies, is the government taking up, is the body that is looking at I love that name, PUP, the parenting under pressure. Is there a take-up by the system, as it were, for a solution that I think is important? We also saw some very exciting possibilities. We saw in the case of Dular, something very short-term. I mean, we're talking about 12 months. No, the baseline has been done. I don't know when the headline is going to come, but I think, is the take-up very strong? But at the same time, the question that comes up, in the capacity building, you have those facilitators who are 1 per 100 households. They visit the households once per month. And yet the take-up seems to be, well, we don't know what the take-up is right now, but it's very well structured and designed program. Do you think that's sufficient? Because many of us are going to ask that question. Is the capacity, how is the capacity building envisaged directly to the parents, and the role of intermediaries to build that capacity and support parents? And is that one visit a month sufficient? I'm sure many people will be wanting to ask. Another element is that we've seen the solutions to what, and this is the work that Schools 2030 is doing for early years as well. To what extent solutions are being co-created with parents? Remember, we saw in Pakistan as well during COVID that we had, on the one hand, some very interesting example of positive parenting practices in storytelling, playing games, but at the same time, the negative parenting practices were happening concurrently. How do we see that aspect of the negative parenting practices? You know, it'll be nice to see that data come out stronger on that. There's so much to say, but I did want to pick up that we are using a tool such as for baseline and endline. I think it'll be great if we can have a follow-up on the research side of measurement. We are looking at essentially what, 0 to 3, or are we looking beyond that as well? And for example, if you're using CREDI as a tool, that is 0 to 3, then what will happen post that? And right now, as the whole world is talking about foundational learning and also strategies for preparing children for foundational learning, so we look at the spectrum of 3 to 8 currently. To what extent are we looking at measures that are doing early preparations, but also early measures, because the foundation learning measures for primary, early primary, are not from grades 1 to 2, perhaps, are not very strong at the social emotional learning measures. How can early years, and especially looking at parenting, play-based parenting, also lend itself to measures that parents can also see how strong the children are, looking at, one of those early, the nurturing care framework measures, how, because everything is embedded in that. But to what extent in those play-based measures are we also seeing parents being able to look at some of the early learning strategies over there as well? So, I mean, I think that's a very important aspect too. I did want to share something which actually we got from ANE. In 2008, two teaching strategies had developed the creative curriculum. This is a Wisconsin-based company, and I think they've gone out. Perhaps they're not functional anymore. But through this ARNIC, wonderful ARNIC network, we had the most fabulous strategies on play-based parenting. And I have the Urdu versions, which we adapted under license and also Creative Commons. But this was looking at from 0 to 12 months, and then subsequently all the way to 60 months. And we adapted that to Pakistan as well. And this was done in Urdu, but it had ways that parents can engage. And I'm just wondering, this is to Arnik, how can we crowdsource all these wonderful resource materials that are being developed for this very important area of work? And how can we see that parents who are particularly, look at the 3 presentations, they were all looking at very fragile communities and helping parents do a better job and to be able to play with their children and nurture their children through that framework. So I think, that would be great. And my last comment, although there's so much to say, but my last comment is, I was intrigued in Bhutan, where you already have the index of happiness and so on. I was intrigued to find out what are, given that a long legacy of Bhutan in that, how come the parents were not more prone to play-based parenting solutions? And that sort of, is stuck in my mind, because I think in each one of these cases, we are building on various strategies and various initiatives that are already in the country. And I think I was intrigued by that. To what extent there was any leveraging of the country's deep commitment to happiness, ways that children and the life, I mean, every age group can be a happier age group, a happier unit as a family as well, and given the size of Bhutan as well. So, but it was exciting to see the solution, the way it is designed, the capacity building for the workforce, however that might be, and where it is very much embedded in the system. And thirdly, of course, the scale up and so on. What we did miss out was, really, what does it cost? And maybe others will comment on it. What does it cost? Because right now, these are such attractive solutions that each one presented. We would love to see what that cost would mean. And I think financing and costing is a very important dimension. Perhaps we should talk about, maybe it is low cost and high returns. And I think that would be a great story for us to build on. Thank you so much. There was, perhaps I've not done justice, but these were very rich. This is very rich work in progress. And I think all of this takes time. So let's not forget that all of this work takes time. And let's see, and to get deeper, but also to scale up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bela. That was wonderful, opening up the discussions and really triggering more questions in order to, as you said, encourage learning from each other and making the network a conducive platform to learn from each other's good practices. I now turn over the platform to Mark, who will facilitate the Q&A portion, and then we will proceed later on to the closing. Mark, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joel. And let me reiterate some of Bela's comments. They were incredibly rich presentations and with a great deal for us to consider and learn. With this section, the question Q&A section, I'd like to focus on, in particular, the role of play and the adaptation of programs into contexts. My colleague Natalie has prepared a few questions for the speakers in this respect. And then I was hoping, Joel, we might have a few moments for spontaneous questions from the floor, perhaps, and ones that arise out of the responses. Does that sound okay?
Yes, perfectly fine, Mark.
Okay, so if I can introduce my colleague, Dr. Natalie Day, and she's going to put some questions to the speakers, I think as a group, really. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mark. It's really great to be here and to listen to all of the wonderful presentations and the great things that's happening to support children's development. The questions that I'm going to ask are really going to delve into the idea that Joelle said right at the beginning of the presentation, that play is a cultural construct. We know that play is influenced by culture and society. So my questions are going to be the same for everybody. And so maybe if we start with PUP, like we did in the order that you presented in, one of the things that we really want to grasp is this idea between an alignment between the idea of play, and we know that a lot of the research that happens very much in Western contexts. So given that a lot of your research is informed by play literature and conceptualizations of play, we're wondering how that aligns with the culture of the context which you're implementing these projects in. Dina, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I have with me my colleague Juju, because Zhao Zhao has to leave for another meeting, but Juju can also fill me in to respond to your questions. When we develop PUP, it's not just a parenting under pressure, but it's under a big ECD programming. So we also support the same community with the play groups programming, established play groups in the community. And what I've learned from my colleagues in Myanmar is that what they did, mostly the work have been done with colleagues in Myanmar, of course. And there was like 3 different ethnics in the community in where we work. So what my colleagues did was really trying to understand the different ethnics, structures, languages, but also identified like different play, local play, or different games that parents use to play with the children's. And bring that into the curriculums that we develop. So our role as, like from a Western side of it, really trying to analyze together with colleagues whether that kind of play will help to stimulate which part of the developments of the children's and appropriateness of, like a safety part of it, all of different aspects, and help colleagues in the local, to build that into the learning materials, into the informations that we develop and share with parents later on. Juju, you want to share your thought as well on the process where you have to identify, like, for example, in some community, like in Muslim community, we can't use a pig, for example, as a picture when we want to introduce like a different animals or different shape, or, like all of these things. So yeah, Juju, do you want to add a couple more of informations on how we trying to balance the theoretical side of importance of play with the culture? Juju, or maybe she's having a problem. So yeah, I hope it responds to your questions, Natalie.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much. Mobile Creches, would you like to answer the same question?
Right. Yes. Thank you. We actually see what the situation of the family and the circumstance of the family is in. For example, and what is available. My colleague Isha was just sharing that what is available already in their house is how we design it. So nothing they have to go and buy out from outside. For example, the vegetables, the color of the vegetables or the plants outside, the dough, in that context. And when we move to different regions in the country, because India is a diverse country with multiple languages and multiple cultures, we actually don't use the same sort of set of songs. We change the songs which are there in the community. We use them. Of course, it has to be making it structured according to the domains of learning. That is the part we come in, but we customize according to what they are familiar with, those songs, those sounds, and that's how we design it. Do you want to add more to us and giving an example?
Yeah. For example, if a family is there, if a family has just migrated from the rural spaces or from their villages, from their hometowns, and they are living in Delhi, so the languages differ and the context also differ. So for a very recent example is that we have developed some stories with the mothers in the community. And we ask the mothers that what kind of stories do you narrate to the child? So in India, in every culture, we have some folk tales. So in India, we have some very common folk tales which are now printed into the textbooks. They're a part of the curriculum of school system. But we are not sure, because we are in the peri-urban spaces. We are currently living in the urban spaces, and we are connecting to the peri-urban areas, peri-rural areas. So we want to make sure that the child does not feel alienated with the things we are giving to them. They feel the whole gap between the homeschool continuity. We wish to fulfill the gap, and we wish to erase that gap with the help of the parent itself.
Yeah, I'll just add in here, and we are a little mindful of some practices like, if there is very gender skewed some songs. For example, we had this song in the community which was about the bread being round, and bread is like mother's bread. So it was a very gender skewed, that only mothers make food. So we actually changed that. So that also we see that we want to make it very equal, and the children to be raised in a very sensitive way, that there is no gender inequality. So we do filter out those things as well.
Right, perfect. Thank you so much. And prescription to play, Kinley, would you like to offer your answer to?
So as I was saying, like we have designed 4 activities, each session for each age band. So these games are, contextualized, so that, for example, the peekaboo or the finger game, playing games with our hands, these are there in our culture. However, now we have, just made it so that they can kind of understand the importance, so that they would, repeatedly play that. So something like that. And also we focus on, easily available materials that is in the house and in the environment. And then we discourage purchase and plastic toys, but rather than homemade toys and use of homemade materials for play. And then that is again, like when they are in the out open, they can use leaves and sticks and pebbles for play. And also we have songs, like contextualized songs, so that the parents feel, especially the uneducated parents, they can easily sing these songs to their children. And also encouragement of storytelling. Storytelling habit is there, but now we are focusing more on, reading, and then telling, engaging child in the story, so that children's, inquisitive, and then it increases. So these are basically we, try to integrate in the culture.
Thank you very much, Kinley. Dina, would you like to say something extra?
Yeah, just, like it's a bit of a reflections when you asked me earlier that because of most of the play research evidence coming from the Westerns, what it used to be when we translate that, sometimes parents or even colleagues, they tend to select the play that will really stimulate the child development, but they forget to choose the one that bring happiness into the interactions. So I think in a way that when we adjust the programs, we also have to be mindful that playful, meaning also that the activity that we conduct should bring happiness, not only to the children, but also to the parents, because that means that we will create, like a better interactions, bonding, and the transfer of information, knowledge, and the whole learning experience itself will be much, benefits for the children and the parents. So yeah, I think that's the one that I want to add and emphasize. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, and when we were watching the presentations and I looked at some of the figures, there was some quite high figures in there as well, with kind of I think one of them was that with PUP, 74%, there was a baseline figure of 74% of parents doing activities that do promote social and emotional development. And so, and I think there was also, I think with mobile creches, it was a low number with 22% do spend time with their children, but that is still 22% of parents that are doing something. And so my question around where's the cultural connection is kind of what's happening in their daily lives that kind of fulfill those numbers of parents that are doing it. But what's happening, what's the change that you're trying to make? Like what cultural things do you want to change? What isn't kind of conducive to your idea of playful parenting? Because there is something happening, but obviously you want to intervene so that more is happening. So what is it culturally that you're trying to change? Dina, would you like to go again?
Yeah, well, it's for us, it's because, like we are supporting, because this program implementing in a crisis context, right? In humanitarian context, where previously these parents are busy with their own stress, busy with their, busy with their own thinking, thoughts, and stress dealing with this crisis. And they have limited time to interact with their children. The interactions only happens during meals time, bedtime. So what we're trying to do with this PUP programming, first, we help them to manage their own stress first. And then we trying to convince them that even though you are living under a great amount of crisis and a great amount of stress, you still can be good parents. You can still provide, like a positive interactions with your children. So that's what we are trying to do. And culturally, this is something that I think in many crisis contexts, the adult is busy, coping with the situations themselves and tend to just interact with their children only in, like during meal time or.
So Dina, sorry, I'm just going to jump in there. How much of what you're doing is giving parents permission or education to encourage them to continue what they used to do already versus introducing them to new practices, new play-based activities? What's the balance there?
Yes, we promote that it's okay that during the meals time, there's other activities that you can do. So you just not, feeding them, but you can talk to them, you can tell story. But also there's other times throughout the days that you can, be more fun with them, playing more things, talk to them, singing, so it's not, we base on what they've already doing, but introduce some more, activities that can promote learning and playful learning to the children's. But also what we're doing with PUP, not only we help them as an individual parent, but also as a group. So that's a big part of this program as well, because they will find a hard time, changing their behavior, of course. So they need someone, they need a group support, of course, to share challenges and to get ideas as well. So a part of this program is also creating this support group among themselves. And the facilitator is the parents, selected parents in the community. So it's become like a group, supporting groups for them to learn from each others and to yeah, to support each others basically. So what happens in one family, what good things that happen in one family, it can be shared to other families, and so they can, yeah, supporting each other, cross learning to each other. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mobile Creches, same question to you. Do you need me to repeat it if you've forgotten?
Yeah, I think Dina has, it's a similar answer actually. It's basically the awareness of parents that why it is so important to play with a child. They really don't realize the consequence of not stimulating the children, and not showing the affection. So linking that to them in a similar way that, you're feeding the child. It's not a extra thing that you need to do. Your day-to-day routine, giving a bath, feeding a child, how do you create that learning environment or a stimulating environment, is how we have injected play in it. The examples, if you
Yeah, so
want to give.
yes, so a little background of the program structure also. See, so we have we particularly chose a particular community where the primary caregiver is at home. So consider it as a stereotype or the situation of the country. Most of the mothers are the primary caregivers in India. See, we have chose this community where the mothers are at home. And when we talk to the mother that, are you playing with the child? Are you spending time with the child? So their usual response is that I am feeding the child is sleeping with me, I am bathing the child, I am taking care of the child. What more do you expect me to do? How should I talk to the child? And the next concern is that my child is only 3 months old. He or she is not even understanding what I'm saying. He can't speak. Why do I need to speak to the child? Whenever the age comes, the child will speak and he or she will learn to speak. Then I'll speak to the child. So so we have explained this whole neuroscience behind that. The neurons will get connected when you are spending the time with the child. When you are talking to the child will respond in his or her own manners, through gestures, through eye contact, through expressions. And we have done the same thing with the babies. So now the mother can clearly see. So we have some strong evidences and some case studies where the child were not speaking. So our Dular Sathi, our field community worker, is visiting the family and the child is hiding behind us, behind the room. So he or she is shy because he or she has never faced the people outside the home. So when our field community workers started explaining all these things, so after 6 months, 4-5 months, we are into the program and we are clearly, the signs are visible. Now the child is greeting the community worker. The same child who was hiding behind the door is greeting the child. And the next thing is that the one strategy which we gave to the parent is developing a timetable, developing a daily routine. So the concern of the community is that mothers are very busy. There's a shortage of water. They have to store the water. There's a shortage of space to bathe and clean. So they are managing their livelihood in such problematic, such challenging manner that they feel that everything is secondary. First, I need to provide the food and water to the child, everything else is secondary. But in that scenario only, in that situation only, we have developed that daily routine of the child and the parent where both of them can be linked. So we have shared that if you are washing the clothes, you can ask your child to be there, to sit, play with water, play with a small cloth, let him explore the things around the work you are doing. So yeah.
Thanks very much. It sounds like you're using play as a kind of vehicle of communication in those spaces. Thank you.
And joining the child into the routines of the day, I think that's just wonderful to hear that.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So it's actually pretty much similar to what my two colleagues have shared. So here in Bhutan, we are also trying to, as one of the objectives of our program is to reach the far-flung communities. We always, when we listen to the caregivers, they say that, yes, it's important to play. It's important to be with our children, but however, we don't have time to play. So we always, make them understand that there is no separate time for play. Play can be done at any time as long as they are in contact with their baby or child. So we also have provided daily routine cards so that they don't forget, like it is, they can play while dressing the child, they can play while, talk while they're feeding the child, while they're during the bedtime, they can read stories. So at any point of, the day, they can like play or talk or, sing to their children. And also like we encourage them when they are during their meal times. So basically we encourage them to be very mindful, to be more interactive when they are with their child. Like it's just not that giving a toys means the child is playing, but then they should be there. There should be back and forth interaction. Yes, so otherwise, and also if I just share, one of the parents, of course, many of the parents, they felt that, okay, reading to a 3-month-old baby or a 6-month-old baby when they can't even speak, it's, it's not doable. So we have been demonstrating that how, what is reading for a 3-year or for a 0 to 3 years children. So just looking at the books, let the child fiddle, touch the book, feel the sensation of the book, and then let them turn the pages, and while the caregivers can talk about what is there by pointing or by just speaking out words. So then later they were saying like, yeah, this is a miracle. They didn't realize that this is reading. So they were saying like, we can't read. When we can't read ourselves, how can we read to our children? So we could break this stereotype of understanding on the reading.
Thank you very much. Really rich answers, that helps us to understand what's happening and how you're incorporating that kind of culture into the play activities that you're implementing. We've got quite a few questions in the Q&A box. Some of them have already been answered through what we've already spoken about. One of the questions, one of the things that's important, I think it's come up in a couple of the presentations, and it may be an extra challenge running on from my last question, is when we're thinking about the gender roles in the family, it's important to foster a more gender inclusive environment within families to avoid reinforcing gender stereotypes. It's an opinion, but I guess if we're reflecting on how we're implementing, or if you're reflecting on how you're implementing your programs, is that something that's a conscious thought within each of your programs with this gender sensitivity, and especially in relation to kind of cultural norms as well? And feel free to jump in with your answers if it's relevant to you.
I can go first. Well, yes, in the PAP programming, we have, I think it was like around 2 or 3, I can't remember, specific group discussions talking around gender and how father and mothers supporting children's developments at home, differentiate, like really have that discussions with the parents in the curriculums. So, and throughout the 17 sessions that we have, and throughout the key messages that we delivered using audio, we consciously, like addressing this, trying to addressing the gaps, gender bias. Like, for example, we've also trying to involve as much as male figures in the community to facilitate the discussions. And once we found out that it is not common for mother and father to sit together in a group, so we decided to have like a different group setting dedicated for mothers only group and fathers only group, but where we found there's a possibility to have them come together as a group and have a discussions around gender and parenting. Then we have like one group for fathers and mothers. So that's a big part of our Parenting Under Pressure programming, addressing gender gaps and have a gender discussions with them and how to overcome that, through the discussions. And like Baila, see, it takes time. It's not like a one night, interventions and suddenly they change their perceptions around gender. But we've seen some changes, positive changes, especially in the father, in the male parent that involved in our program. So they're becoming more aware and more involved in taking care of the children's, playing more with the children as well. So there is a good changes that we've seen. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to offer an answer or experience?
Yeah.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry,
There you go.
I'm sorry. So what we did was, the content that we have developed and which is being with us, we have done this whole gender issue very experientially, nothing on the face, but like we have also videos on parenting and we made them the animated videos. You would see in the normal course of action, the family is cleaning and the father is actually cleaning the house, the mother is doing something. So we just, in a way which is normalize the whole thing and not on your face. Similarly, I was talking about some of the songs and everything, or like a ball. I mean, we're not showing a ball is only a boy is playing a ball. It's a girl is also doing the colors also. And just inclusion, we're not just looking at gender, we're looking at abilities or disability, we're looking at color, we're looking at sizes. So we made the entire content in a way which is very inclusive, pictorially also and in the language also, even the religion also. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chavi. Mark, do you have anything else to add? There's maybe one more question. Oh yes, Kinley, please.
Very quick one. Like considering the gender, like when we do the training, the HAs, the health workers, they are also trained on gender and toys, and so that they would also disseminate this to the caregivers when they are in the community. And we also have, a special session for fathers, father engagement. So this is particularly designed for the fathers so that, even if they cannot make to the group sessions, they at least they understand the program, the importance of why the groups attending group sessions, so that they will encourage or they will support their, counterpartners to participate in the group sessions. And also there is the individual session, as I was talking, when they come for the individual sessions, when they come to, especially like when the babies are very small, mothers and fathers, they come together to the clinic. So that time when the HAs deliver this or provide this service of screening, the fathers are also encouraged to, listen to the, take part while their child is screened, so that they will also hear to the play plans. And then hence, in order to, be able to support their wives. So also for the play cards, we have, in terms of characteristics, we have a mix of both male and female caregivers. So this is all I could think of now. Thank you.
Thank you
so much. Natalie, did you want to say a couple of words to wrap up, or did you want me to do that?
You are welcome to consolidate, Mark.
Well, I just want to thank the participants for the time, and I want to recognize the extraordinary work that's being implemented in these different contexts, and it's multifaceted work. We're focusing very much on one aspect of it in our questions and the role of play, and it's important to recognize that these are complex programs and they're under very trying circumstances, and they're very responsive to their context. I suppose I just wrap up with a few thoughts about play-based intervention or using play as a vehicle for shifting parenting. I don't have a conclusion, but I think it's interesting to me, and I think Natalie as well, that the dominance of the play narrative What we've heard today is we've heard about the importance of communication and messages about communicating and interacting with children. And there's very well established evidence base on how interactions drive children's development. We've heard about using neuroscience as a mechanism for shifting the way parents interact with children. We've heard about enabling fathers, perhaps, as male role models, as people who can also interact with children. And I think it's worth reflecting on how central is play to these interventions, and how important is it in getting traction in communities, and encouraging richer, interactive and diverser experiences for children. I'm perfectly open to the possibility that it's of critical importance, but in hearing you speak, it sounds like it's one of many elements that's used to communicate with and respond to parents in their own contexts. It's also, I'll make this a last thought, it's intriguing to me that the problems of parents, living in the most dire circumstances are very similar to the problems of parents here in Australia, believing that their input is important, believing that they make a difference through their ordinary communicative behaviours, and giving them permission to value the time they spend with their children. And I think that unifies all of us and binds us together, even in such a privileged context as many that we see in Australia. These messages are still all tricky to get through. So I'll leave it there, and I thank Arnek for bringing this together, and thank the presenters for their rich presentations, and Bela Jamil for her very provocative thoughts. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, presenters. May I now call on Evelyn Santiago, the director of INEC, to close the webinar for today. Over to you, Evelyn.
Thank you, Joel. This has been a very productive, discussion as we try to understand the different, entry points for playful parenting implemented, in different contexts. I wish we have more time, but the discussion just, started, and we will continue, as a whole ARNEC community in discussing, these elements of playful parenting programs. Our appreciation goes to all our case country presenters from Plan International, Save the Children, and Mobile Creches. Your presentations have really provided very rich insights, as we try to co-create the regional playful parenting guidance that we would really like to be of benefit to the whole regional ECD community. A guidance that will be based on evidence and reflective of the regional context, practices, culture, and norms, in our region. Thanks to Bela for your very sharp and thoughtful comments. I'm sure you're coming from your experience of implementing very good ECD and parenting programs as well in ITA, in Pakistan. Our learning partner, of course, University of Wollongong, Natalie and Mark, thank you for joining us today and for guiding us through this very important initiative. Our participants, thank you for staying on. Thank you for all your questions. We're sorry we're not able to respond to all of those questions, but we'll be sharing all the presentations and the documentation of this webinar as well. And of course, Joel and Gia of the ARNEC Secretariat for organizing, this webinar. Today's discussion is just part of a two-part webinar series on playful parenting that we are organizing, and we will be featuring some more programs in the next 2 weeks or so, coming from our regional cohort of playful parenting, champions, including colleagues and partners from the Philippines, Nepal, Cambodia, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Pakistan, as well. But before you leave, if I may just request all our participants to take part on our webinar evaluation. You can see the link and the code in your screen. It will only take few minutes of your time, but it will really help us in designing the next webinar in this webinar series. Again, thanks everyone, and have a very good day. Thank you for joining us in today's session. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.
Please do the evaluation. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks, Mark. Natalie. Bye.
Yeah, did you need us to stay on, Joel? We'll talk later, I think.
Yeah, later. We will just do emails later. Thanks, Kinley. Jao, thank you. Jao, let's stay behind. Make sure that maybe 2 more minutes. Just to make sure that people are able to do the evaluation.
Okay, Joel.
Bye, Kinley.
Bye-bye.
Let me just check.
Bye.
How our evaluation is. Okay, Jay. Thanks very much. We can end the webinar now. Thank you.